mic on?
Yes.
My mic is on. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Free. I'm Ryan. I'm the pastor and executive director here. This is Noelle. She's the community director here. And welcome to all of you. Welcome to all of you joining us online via Facebook or YouTube. We're glad you're part of this community. So this is a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. And what we do here is break the silence of addiction and create space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. And there is one thing we don't do. Is it true?
It's true.
It's true. On a count of three, y'all get to shout it out, all four words. If you're new with us tonight, you're going to learn it very quickly. 1, 2, 3. We don't do shame. Noelle, but there's some other things happening that they might want to know about. Shall we clue them in?
Absolutely. So if tonight's your first night here, welcome. We are so glad you are here. We have welcome bags right outside the store. It has a little bit about what we do here at Free Spiritual Community, a little bit about what Wagon Coffee does. There's some fresh roasted Wagon Coffee in these bags and just some free swag. So if you've never been here before, please grab a welcome bag. You can see one of our home team members. If you're on home team, would you raise your hand? Hi, I'm proud. Oh, wonderful.
See
Front
those
here
people.
Yep, absolutely. See those people? We'll get you a bag and get you all set up. Next up, we are kicking off our fall book study on October 3rd. So it's a week from this coming Tuesday. 4-week book study on the book, The Mountain Is You.
Who's read it?
Looks like all
They're
y'all
all
are going to
come
be in
to
the book study
study
then. Great.
How about
so
that?
It's going to be in this room. You already know where it is. 6 to 7 on Tuesday, starting October 3rd, goes to the 24th, I believe, 4 Tuesdays in a row. And then you will be preaching a 4-week series on The Mountain Is You. So
all of October.
Absolutely. So we're going to kind of coincide our
I better read the book.
Oh, my word. Have
Already
you bought
started.
the book yet?
Already started. It's on my Kindle.
I know. You're much more prepared than people give you credit for it. It's very true.
Sometimes.
Most times, I will say. So we're kicking that off. I'm going to lead it with my husband, Mickey. It'll be a great time, so please join us. And the cool thing about this book study is it's also the night of the Sober Souls meeting. So what has been very popular for us with our book studies in the past is going to that book study from 6 to 7, and then 30 minutes later, it's that all Sober Souls meeting, and they welcome everyone. It's an incredible meeting. So grab a cup of coffee, come to the book study, come to the meeting after. It's a great Tuesday night.
That's some soul work there.
That is some
sober soul work.
Sober soul work. Last up, October 9th, we're having our second Faith in Blue event. So something I never thought we'd be saying in in active addiction. But we are inviting Denver police. They are coming in, absolutely. They are coming into the building on October 9th. They will be here from 11 to 1. And we're just bridging that gap with them and opening it up to our community. You can grab a cup of coffee. They're just kind of wanting to put a face to our community and let us know that their resources are available.
And let us ask any questions and break down some barriers is the hope.
Absolutely, yeah.
And let me say a further word about that for next week, because we're in this Rooted series, and this is week 4. Next week is week 5. Matt Naraki will be bringing the message, and he's interviewing a guest storyteller who is a law enforcement officer, and the theme for next week is Recovering Out Loud. And how do we break this silence of recovering out loud? And he's got a tremendous story. His story went very public. You can Google it, YouTube it. His story was very public. Nate Meyer will be with us. And he's going to talk about what that was like of getting found out publicly, but his recovery now and what that's like, and why he talks about it openly, even in his position, and how many people that helps. So
he really lives his recovery out loud.
Yes.
Yep. Awesome.
Yes,
well,
it does.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Noelle. We can clap for Noelle. Nancy Martin. Where's Nancy Martin? Is she in the house? Here she is. Nancy Martin is going to join me on stage. Grab a mic. Listen, some of y'all know that Chandra Swinson, she's been a therapist here on site. She was a trauma therapist, still is a trauma therapist, but she has moved on to pursue other goals with some colleagues, other projects, and so that space was empty, and y'all know how God works, just kind of in mysterious ways, and it just so happened I was talking to Nancy, and she dropped the line that she was a trauma and addictions therapist, and I said, oh my goodness. So Nancy is going to be in fact, she's there now. She moved her stuff in. She's in the office all the way down the hallway on the right. She is a trauma and addictions therapist. And I said, Nancy, would you say a few words tonight so people could get to know you a little bit? Introduce yourself just a little bit.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nancy, like Ryan said, and I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I specialize in trauma and addiction.
Yeah. Are we clapping for that? Yeah, we'll clap for that.
My family and I have loved being a part of this community for the past year.
They have knocked out of the park volunteering here. Like, thank you for that. Sorry to interrupt you.
Thank you. Now that I'm taking up space in the back office, my hope is to be a resource for this community, for you. I grew up surrounded by substance abuse, shame, secrets, loneliness, that kind of stuff. As a result of the chaos, bulimia became one of my closest friends. Needless to say, I had some stuff to figure out. So I devoted my professional endeavors to doing just that. And a couple of things I've learned over the years: healing comes through connection. Life is tough, and we weren't meant to do it alone. And unhealed wounds keep us stuck. There's this analogy that hit me several years ago. Trauma is like undigested food that sits in your gut, making you ill. You need to process it before you can pass it.
Preach it. Preach it.
I would love to meet you. My contact information is on the cards, is on my business cards outside on the table. You can also talk to Ryan, or you can ask Christine DeFrancesco,
Raise your hand up, Christine. There she is.
who I work in tandem with at her stables, Serenity Stables, doing equine-assisted trauma work. I will be taking Medicaid as soon as my paperwork is finalized.
Which will be soon, and we're grateful for that. It makes a big difference. Thank you, Nancy. Glad to have you here. All right, y'all, the way we get started in this community on a Saturday night is with celebrations. We lift up the good. We start with the good. We don't ignore the hard stuff. We just save it for the end, but we lift up the good. Maybe you have a sobriety anniversary or a birthday or a new thing in life, like new jobs, new homes, new babies, whatever the new thing is. We want to celebrate it with you. Very important part of our time together. We believe that God joins with us in the celebration. So anything you want to celebrate, if you're online, drop your celebrations in the YouTube comments or the Facebook comments. We'll celebrate with you there. If you're in the house and you have a celebration, just lift up your hand. Saman will bring you a mic, or Scott will bring you a mic. This time is yours. We'll take 3 minutes.
Hello, my name's John. Tomorrow I celebrate 30 days.
Way to go, John!
That's a really big deal.
Hello, my name is Francisco. I go by Frankie, and I'm celebrating 6 days sober.
6 days sober, Frankie.
I'm Allison, and I wanted to celebrate my friend Luna being here for the first time.
All right, welcome. Thank you, Allison.
My name is Sabrina, and today I got 5 months clean and sober.
All right, way to go, Sabrina.
Coming back to you.
My name's Jack, and I got 90 days sober. Clean.
Way to go, Jeff. Buddy.
My name's Kayla, and I have 90 days sober as well.
Kayla, congratulations.
I'm Fredo. I got 32 days off fentanyl.
All right, dude, 32 days off fentanyl.
I'd like to celebrate all the prayer warriors that got to work hard because Dara is back with us tonight. It's good to see you. Make sure you stop by and give her a hug.
She's going to come up here in just a moment. We're going to celebrate a hardcore.
Yesterday was my daughter's 16th birthday. She won't talk to me because of my life, but I'm getting there, and hopefully she will soon.
Yeah.
Yesterday was her 16th birthday.
Happy birthday to her and continued prayers.
I'm Danielle, and I'm celebrating 30 days sober.
All right. Congratulations.
Tomorrow, my friend Jill will have 1 year sober.
Jill, way to go.
I'm Jimmy. I'm an alcoholic. I have 60 days today.
All right, 60 days.
My name is Rashad. I'm celebrating 3 years of continuous sobriety today.
Rashad!
Hello, my name's Daniel. I'm gonna be 70 days sober tomorrow.
70 days sober. Hot dang.
Hi, I'm Hi, I'm Marianne, and I feel really lucky to have both my sons here with me tonight. And tomorrow, my son will be 1 year sober from fentanyl and meth.
Way to go, dude. Proud of you, man.
I'm Kyle, and I celebrated 4 years clean on Sunday.
Keep coming back. Congratulations.
My name's Matt. I'm sober off of fentanyl for 15 months and just moved into my new house.
Way to go, Matt. That's the good stuff. All right, we are out of time, but don't leave here. If you've got a celebration on your heart, please let someone know, because I promise you in this community, they will celebrate with you. Tammy, are you joining me up here? The one and only Dara, would you come up for a moment? Because we do have, Darren mentioned it, but I would just want to give it a little bit of a further shout out to our friend Dara. Her parents are in the house tonight, Ken and Martha. Here's what y'all need to know about Dara. A living, breathing miracle right here. It was last week, you remember, we were praying for Dara. This community prayed for her. She was in a coma. Doctors, you weren't expected to survive what you went through, this diabetic coma. She made it. She walked out of there on Tuesday. Oh my goodness, it's giving me goosebumps. Look at that. Walked out on Tuesday. She was in here on Thursday. And we are so glad you're still with us, because you're such an important part of this community. The first thing you said when you woke up, one of the first things was, don't give me fentanyl. I got a hat that says, fuck fentanyl. Don't give me fentanyl. So she is 6 months sober yesterday. Dara! We love you. So glad you're here.
There's like some F yeahs in here. I was just like, in a church, you can say that, by the way.
Well, that's this community.
I know, I like it.
All right, Tammy's up here with me. We're going to take the online celebrations, a few of them.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
I guess what you're at.
You know how we do it.
Matt says 281 days meth-free and 184 days fentanyl-free.
Way to go, Matt.
Awesome, Matt.
Congratulations, buddy. Christy from North Carolina says, grateful for my friend Karen doing well after her second chemo treatment. Christy, we'll celebrate that with you.
Hey, Kiefer says 23 days after celebrating a year of recovery, a judge ordered me full custody of my daughter. She comes home in a week.
Way to go, buddy. That's awesome, Kiefer.
Good stuff, Kiefer.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing in this community is we see moms and dads getting kids back. It never gets old. Matt Morley says, celebrating my amazing wife who ran a 5K today in honor of my recovery. Love her so much. Matt and Amy, glad you're with us tonight. Congratulations.
You have one more?
Do I have one more?
Yeah, you have someone special in the house.
Oh, my mom is in the house tonight all the way from Florida. Sherry is here.
Yeah.
Nani. I acted like I forgot, but I didn't forget. I was just seeing if you remembered.
She's always watching.
She's always watching. All right, y'all. Thank you for the... Are we good? Okay. Well, so we are in this 4th week of the Rooted series. It's a 5-week series. We're asking the questions, what are you rooted in? And tonight, I want to ask you the question, are you rooted in forgiveness, particularly forgiving yourself? So last week we talked about the importance of you forgiving others. Yeah, it's the hard work. It's forgiveness of others. It's when you are able to let go of all the hurt, all the pain, all the baggage, all the hate, the anger, the fantasies of revenge that have been consuming you. No, forgiveness doesn't mean that you are condoning what they did. It doesn't mean that they're not going to have consequences for their actions. It doesn't mean that you are going to forget and therefore have no boundaries in your life, it doesn't mean that you will even be reconciled with this person. Maybe, maybe not, depending on the circumstance, right? But it does mean you are making the decision to release them from your hands and place them into better hands. And here's what I know. When it comes to forgiveness, if you engage in this work, it will be some of the hardest work you ever do. And do you notice how what we struggle with most, I've noticed what we battle most, isn't the forgiveness of others, but it's actually the forgiveness of ourselves. And do you notice how the forgiveness of others is actually wrapped into the forgiveness of self? Because if you're not able to forgive yourself, you're carrying around all those old wounds, all that old baggage. And it's true, isn't it, that hurt people hurt people. So is there anyone here tonight holding on to some of the things that you did in that tape? Man, it just keeps replaying. Why'd I do that? Why'd I do that? Why'd I say that? Why'd I treat people that way? And the truth is, if you want to stay clean and sober, if you want to go on to live a life of meaning and purpose, you will have to learn to forgive yourself. You will have to learn how to actually love yourself, even all those past selves, because forgiveness is about you being free. So I want you to think about these two questions as we engage forgiving yourself. And the first question is this: are you trying to forgive yourself apart from working through the shame and regret? Because if you don't work through that stuff, you'll never be able to forgive yourself. It'll never work. And the second question is this: if God has made peace with you, are you willing to make peace with you? Yeah, so hold those two things in mind. You know, there's a story in the New Testament, the Gospels. It's a story about one of Jesus's closest friends. And this guy, he wanted forgiveness for himself. I mean, he wanted forgiveness, but he wasn't willing to take full responsibility and work through the shame of his actions. Judas was one of Jesus's 12 disciples, one of his closest friends. They spent a lot of time together. Towards the end of Jesus's life, Judas sees this opportunity. He goes to the religious and political leaders of the day and he says, hey, I know y'all are looking for Jesus. You want to arrest him. I actually know this guy. I'm friends with him. I hang out with him. What will you give me if I hand him over to you? And they say, Judas, this is a great idea. Man, if you hand him over to us, we'll give you 30 pieces of silver. And the kicker is, we'll give it to you now. You can have it up front. Judas says, sweet. He walks away with 30 pieces of silver. That night, Jesus is having dinner, sharing a meal with his best, closest 12 friends, Judas being one of them. They eat together. After they finish the meal, Jesus serves them. He washes their feet, even Judas's feet, and he knew Judas was going to betray him. After he gets done serving them, Jesus goes to this place called Gethsemane, and he's praying. And then Judas comes on the scene, and following behind him are a bunch of Roman soldiers. And Judas tells the Roman soldiers, he says, the one I kiss, that's how you know it's the man to arrest. And so Judas approaches his closest friend, gives Jesus a kiss on the cheek. And then these Roman soldiers rush in and arrest him, and they take him off to prepare him to be hung on a Roman execution stake called a cross. And Judas, he immediately sees what's happening. And he's filled with remorse and regret and even shame. And he goes back to the religious leaders and he says, man, y'all got to understand, I got it wrong on this one. I betrayed a friend. I betrayed innocent blood. And what do the religious leaders say to him? What is that to us? They replied, that's your responsibility. So Judas threw the money into the temple and left. Then he went away and hanged himself. A very tragic ending to Judas's story. And you see, Judas felt bad. He even admitted that what he did was wrong, but he didn't know how, or at least wasn't willing to work through the shame caused by his actions. He just wanted the pain to stop. Have you been there? Man, you did some things in your past. You can admit it's wrong, but you don't know how to work through the shame that was caused, and you just want the pain to stop. I know that feeling. Man, when I was in active addiction, I could admit the wrong, but I didn't know how to work through the hard stuff, the shame and the regret and the remorse, and I just wanted the pain to stop. So I'm going to share something with y'all that you might want to hold on to. You can learn from my mistakes on this one. Some of y'all know this, but you need to be reminded. You do know when you compose an email or a text message and you go on to the next step to hit the send button, that thing is out in the universe forever and ever and ever. So be very careful with your words. I was explaining this to my daughter just the other night. That text message, it's out there forever. Even if you go back and hit the delete button, it's still out there. Do you know when I was several years ago in seminary, just down the street here at Iliff School of Theology, I was hired on a church staff just across the street from Iliff, University Park United Methodist Church, just down the street here. I was hired on that staff to be the campus minister at the University of Denver. My first week there, staff didn't know me. Nobody really knew me. I was the new guy. Well, that night I got a phone call from Jake Mampaw, pronounced like Grandpa, except with an M, because that's how he introduced himself. And he says to me on the phone that night, he says, "Bro, I don't know what that email was about that you sent, but I just want you to know it was just forwarded to everyone on the church staff." Dang it. Man, my heart sunk. Because the night before, I was drunk. I was in seminary, man. I was very active in my addiction. I was drunk. I was angry. I was wounded. I was so hurt. And I sent an email to an individual. And man, I called this individual awful names some of you wouldn't use on your worst enemies. And I made threats towards this individual about how I was going to bring them down, how I was going to humiliate them publicly, starting with family members first. Dang it. The next morning, my boss calls me, still a dear friend to this day, Reverend Paul Kotke. He calls me, he says, "Ryan, can you come into my office today? We need to talk about your public and private life in ministry." And so I go into his office, and I have to tell you, that man was so gracious with me. He never shamed me. He did have some hard truths for me to hear, but never shamed me. In fact, 6 years later, when I got sober, that man walked with me and offered me nothing but love and support. And what I can tell y'all is when I was sitting in his office that morning, I felt bad. I felt remorse, and it wasn't just because I got caught. I actually felt bad, but I didn't know how to work through the shame and how to truly take responsibility for my actions. And that tape would just replay, and it wasn't just the email. It was all the other things that flood the mind. Man, why'd I do that? Man, why'd I steal those pills from strangers? Why'd I put my mom through fear? Why'd I leave my daughter in her crib and let her fall asleep so I could leave the house and go drink the way I wanted to drink and she's home alone? And why'd I treat my wife this way? Why'd I say those things to Tammy? Man, that tape just kept replaying, and I drank alcoholically for 6 more years, and I was just like Judas. I could admit it, but I did not know how to own it. And I was off in isolation, dying emotionally, dying spiritually, and that tape just replays. Why'd I do that? Why'd I do that? Why'd I say that? Why'd I treat people that way? You see, do you have things in your past and that tape is just stuck on repeat? And I want to remind y'all that one of the greatest gifts we are given in recovery is the opportunity and the ability to clear the wreckage of our past. It's on the last paragraph on the first 164 pages of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's the way the last paragraph begins. What's it say? Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to God and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. Some of y'all could finish that paragraph out. How do we clear away the wreckage? Well, we get really clear about our faults. We write them down. We admit to God, to ourselves, and very important, to another human being, the exact nature of our wrongs. We own it. And then what do? We make amends to those we have harmed. We do everything we can to make things right. And then very important, what do? We go in peace. And for some of y'all, that's the hardest thing to do. That's where you struggle. That's where you get tripped up. You go in peace. You see, do you believe God has made peace with you? And if God has made peace with you, are you willing to make peace with you? You know, one of my favorite stories in Scripture, it comes from the Old Testament or the Hebrew Bible. It's found in this book called 2 Kings, and it's a story about a man named Naaman who encounters a man named Elisha. And just to give you a little bit of the backstory so you can really get into the story, Naaman was the commander of an army for the king of Aram. And he was described as a great man in the sight of the king. He had many victories. He was described as a great warrior. But the thing about Naaman is he had a skin disease. And back in the day, if you had a skin disease, it was because the gods were against you. They were punishing you for something, and you were pushed off to the margins. You were ostracized. Now, Naaman gets word from this young Jewish slave girl that, hey, if you just go into Israel and you talk to one of the prophets there, you can get healed. He says, seriously? She says, yeah. So he goes to his king, the boss, and he says, boss, here's the deal. If I go into Israel, I might have a chance of getting healed. What do you think? Can I take a few days off? He says, Naaman, that's a great idea. And I like you so much, I'm going to write a letter of reference for you that you can submit to the king there. It'll be like a good standing thing, good faith. Naaman is prepared to pay. He heads to Israel and he takes with him massive amounts of gold and silver and horses and chariots, and he stands before the king in Israel. He hands him the reference letter, and the king there thinks that he's picking a fight with him. He thinks he's inviting him into war, so he gets all pissed off and starts tearing his clothes off, which is kind of weird, and he's in grief. And Elisha, who's described as a man of God, a prophet in Israel, he hears what's happening. He's overhearing it. And so he goes to the king there and he says, dude, you have got to get your act together. We've got to welcome this man. We've got to remember who we are. We got to remember our story, remember what we're about. Let this man come to me. So Elisha goes off with Naaman. And Elisha says to Naaman, Naaman, I want you to go down this riverbank and go wash 7 times in the Jordan River. And Naaman gets angry. He says, man, if I would have known you were going to tell me to do something so stupid, I would have just stayed home. I could have washed in my own river. And he starts to walk away, and his servants catch up to him. They say, Naaman, dude, you got to get your act together now. He's asking you to do something very simple. If it was difficult, you would have jumped on it. This is simple. Just give it a try. So Naaman walks down to the Jordan River. He bathes in it, washes in it 7 times. He comes out, and the text tells us that when he came out, his skin was smooth like that of a young boy. He was made clean. Naaman is so convinced that this God healed him. He wanted to give Elisha a payment. He wanted to pay Elisha for setting up this encounter. But see, Elijah has this really firm core belief that God's healing is always free. It is never to be bought. It's never to be earned. It's always free. But Naaman has just one more question, one more request of Elisha, and don't miss this. He says to Elisha, but may the Lord forgive your servant for this one thing. When my master comes into Ramon's temple, keep in mind, back in the day, they had localized deities, different gods for different lands, different gods for different territories. So he's back home. When my master comes into Ramon's temple to bow down there and is leaning on my arm, I must also bow down in Ramon's temple. When I bow down in Ramon's temple, may the Lord forgive your servant for doing that. Are you catching what's happening? Naaman has just had this powerful, incredible experience with the living God, so much so he says, I know now there are no other gods, but Elisha, you need to understand something. I've got to go back home now, and my life is about to get really complicated because I have to go into the temple tomorrow morning, Ramon's temple, different God, localized deities, And I'm going to be with my boss. And each morning we go in there, we kind of link arms. And when he bows down to Ramon, well, I have to bow down too. If I don't, it's a major sign of disrespect, like off with my head. And Elijah, my question is, when I go in there, will this God who I just encountered, will this God go with me? Will this God forgive me? And out of all the things Elisha could have said to him, come on, Naaman, stand for something or fall for everything. Come on, Naaman, stand up for God. Do the right thing. Get a backbone. Out of all the things he could have said, he said 3 simple words. Elisha said to him, go in peace. Go in peace. Peace is that Hebrew word shalom. It has everything to do with your healing, your wholeness, your well-being. In other words, wherever you go, God is going with you. The blessing and the peace of the divine rests upon you. Go in peace. Maybe you've been carrying around things from your past, and the only God you've encountered, the only God that was ever handed to you was a God of shame, judgment, wrath, punishment, and you are now so convinced that this God is against you, that this God wants to punish you. Some of you may even attribute some of your pain and suffering for something you did in your past, that God is somehow getting you back. And now you wonder where your standing is with God. And what if the only thing God is saying to you is, go in peace? You don't have to carry the shame, the guilt, the baggage. Go in peace. You see, if God has made peace with you, are you willing to make peace with you? Some of you might remember from a few months back, we talked about this really helpful mantra, a mantra that you can put on repeat. I heard this on a podcast and it so stuck with me and I shared it with you. It's when you look back at all the old yous, or you get into a conversation with friends or family members or acquaintances and they start reminding you of the old yous and they start reminding you of your past, and something inside you wants to cringe, something inside you wants to go back to living in the shame. Try saying this out loud. Yeah, that was 9 Ryans ago. But you cannot say my name. You got to say your name. It'll be more powerful. And when you say it, you have to say it with a smile and some tenderness. And it's not the number that's important. You pick the number. Man, that was 9 Ryans ago. That was 11 Ryans ago. That was 17 Ryans ago. Do you see how it becomes a mantra that you speak to help you own all the earlier yous? You're not denying that you said that thing, did that thing, believed that thing, but now you're owning it. Because that was then, and now you're here. And you own all the earlier yous because you kept going. You see, if you have struggled to forgive yourself for all the things you did, all the things you said, you thought, you believed, try saying this and watch forgiveness start to seep in. If you are struggling to forgive yourself, if you have earlier yous where it is connected to all kinds of shame and guilt and it's just got a tense charge to it, try saying this and watch a lightness come over you. And when you get stuck in that, because we all get stuck in this, man, what was I thinking? Man, why did I do that? What was I thinking? When you get stuck there, be reminded it wasn't you that was thinking. It was an earlier you that was doing the thinking, and what a really unfair question for the new you to ask of the earlier, the old you. And when you get stuck there, man, what was I thinking? Well, get stuck there for a minute. Sink all the way into it. Allow yourself to reflect there and sit there for a moment. Because chances are you have tremendous clarity. Man, what was I thinking? Man, Ryan, why'd you send that email? Man, because remember, you were so hurt. You were so wounded. You were so angry. You were so afraid. That's why. You didn't know how to deal with it. That's why. You were so sick in the disease of your addiction. That's why. Man, why'd y'all do that thing? Why'd I do it? What was I thinking? Remember how broken you were? Remember how much pain you were in? Remember how afraid you were? Yeah, that's why you did. Remember you needed the money. Remember, that's the way your family taught you to do it. That's the system that was handed you. That's why you did that thing. And listen, I know we can look back and say that's the old you, right? Like, man, that email, that was 17 Ryans ago. And do you see how it creates distance but not denial? It allows you to look at you objectively. It allows you to look at the earlier yous and not hate those yous or be ashamed of those yous. You can actually have grace for you. And we live in this cancel culture, don't we? Where if you say something 17 years ago, we're going to come after you. We're canceling you because you are done. You're damaged. There is no redemption. And for people in recovery, that'll never make sense because we know our stories. We know the second, third, fourth chances we've been given. We now know the God of redemption. But maybe the problem is you have been canceling yourself for something you've done in the past. And I want you to know God never cancels you because of your past. Do you remember after Judas betrayed Jesus with a kiss, Jesus was hanging on that Roman execution stake called a cross? Remember, there was soldiers that were mocking him. The crowds were shouting out, "Crucify him! Crucify him! Crucify him!" And as Jesus hung dying on that cross, he sends this plea to God for the whole world. But I think it was especially for Judas, especially for you. Some of his last words while hanging on that cross: "Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing." Man, all that stuff in your past, you didn't know. You didn't know. And now you know. So go in peace. You are forgiven. Sarah Hornbuckle is our guest storyteller tonight, but before she shares some of her story, which I can't wait for y'all to hear, she's going to play a song, an original song, because the one and only Sarah is a phenomenal, very talented singer-songwriter, artist. And I want to leave you with this. You know the New Testament written in Greek. The Greek word for forgiveness, the Greek word forgive, is this word aphiemi. Say it with me, aphiemi. It literally means to send away. It's mentioned 147 times in the New Testament. So when we recite the Lord's Prayer, which many in recovery, we know the Lord's Prayer. When you hear that line or say that line, "Forgive us our trespasses," or "Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors," it literally means to send away the debt, to send away the trespasses. Because the truth is, we're good at carrying that box around, aren't we? The box with all of our past mistakes, all of our past failures, all of our past sins, trespasses, debts, all the ones that remind us how unworthy we are. But my brothers and sisters, do you believe that you are worthy of forgiveness, of aphiemi, to send that stuff away, that it's gone, that it no longer defines your present? So as Sarah sings this song called "Daughter of a King," I invite you, if you would like, if you are holding on to something that you've done and it is consuming you, it is keeping you from moving forward. Well, we have some sticky notes up here with pens, and I would invite you to write that thing down. Maybe it's in one word, maybe it's a few words, maybe it's a phrase, and then place them in this box. And at the end of the night, we are going to send this stuff away. We're going to aphiemi it. So during the song, this time is yours if you'd like to move, and this time is yours.
I bow my head when you try to mess with me. Don't you know I'm the daughter of a king? See, I can't just keep quiet while the angels fight for me. It might seem like I'm losing, but I'm on a winning streak. So what you don't know about my God will be revealed. Let darkness tremble while my enemies are near. No, you'll find me singing and praising his name. 'Cause his power is perfect when I'm looking weak. 'Cause you know I'm the daughter of a king. Those old Bible stories hold the secrets of war. The humble and the righteous always end up restored. See, there are more with us than there are with them. When God is your dawn and sing amen. 'Cause what you don't know about my God will be revealed. Let darkness tremble while my enemies are near. And he won't allow me to be put to shame. No, you'll find me singing and praising his name. 'Cause his power is perfect when I'm looking weak. 'Cause you know I'm the daughter of a king. Amen. 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 All I gotta say is amen. Oh, amen. They're coming for your daughter. Amen. I know you're with me, Father. Amen. All I gotta say is amen. So what you don't know about my God will be revealed. Let darkness tremble while my enemies are near. And he won't allow me to be put to shame. No, you'll find me singing and praising his name. 'Cause his power is perfect when I'm looking weak. 'Cause you know I'm the daughter of a king. Oh, yeah, his power is perfect when I'm looking weak. 'Cause you know I'm the daughter of a king.
Thank you, Sarah Hornbuckle. And she doesn't even have to move far because she's going to join me in the living room. If you're new here, you should know that every Saturday night we have a guest storyteller to share some of their experience, strength, and hope around the topic at hand. Man, she can sing, huh? I'm glad I didn't join you on a duet. I would have screwed it up.
A duet? Can you beatbox?
Next time. Yes.
Yeah?
We'll do that later.
Could work that out.
I'll say a few words before she jumps into her story. Sarah Hornbuckle. Sarah has been clean and sober since 2016. She's also the assistant executive director. Yeah, are we going to clap for her sobriety? Yeah. This is a clap and celebrate your community. She's the assistant executive director of the Hornbuckle Foundation, along with, well, Michael was just sitting here. He was here, I promise.
You know what? He cries when I sing, so this is totally fine. Normal.
I was crying.
Just kidding.
Yeah, the Hornbuckle Foundation, many of you know them. They help a ton of people in sobriety into recovery, and really grateful for the work you guys do. And I can't wait for you to hear some of Sarah's story around forgiving yourself. So welcome, Sarah Hornbuckle. There you are.
There I am.
All right, so something I found so fascinating about Sarah's story is addiction didn't creep in until much later in life. I said at the first service, sometimes someone sitting on this couch will talk about when they started using at 9 years old, and I'm always like, 9 years old? What were y'all doing? or 11 or 13, young ages. And you were at the ripe older age of 28 years old before addiction found its way to creep into your life. And so maybe explain to us how that happened and what that was like.
Sure. Well, I was adopted as a baby. My parents were teenage high school lovers and gave me up for adoption. So I was raised by a Christian family, 2 parents. They've been married 48 years, no mental health issues, no addiction issues, and I had a very well-balanced childhood with everything that I needed. My parents actually adopted 3 children, and I'm sure some days they regretted it, but they love us so much. But we all come with our own issues. I remember being 14 years old, and there was this news story about this girl. She was about my age, and she had taken ecstasy, and she drank so much water that do you remember this? She drowned her organs and died. And I heard this voice in my head say, if you do drugs, you will die. And I kind of looked around in my living room like, anybody else hear that? It was just me. And I think that was God at a young age, being like, hey, you check the boxes, even though I didn't know. And so I avoided drugs. I worked, I went to school. I was, always been a very driven person. And then I had my first child. I became a single mom at the age of 22. And at the age of 24, I married what I thought was a really awesome, amazing Christian man. And 2 weeks later, he ripped the bumper off of my car in a drunken rage. And I thought, oh, I'm in trouble. 2 years later, he had knocked me unconscious about 9 o'clock in the morning in front of my kids, and I knew that I was done. And I hear your story, and I think about Tammy. I'm like, God bless you, Tammy. I couldn't do it. I couldn't get through that. And I was a single mom of 3 kids under 5, and just in survival mode. And there's a lot of working 18-hour days and getting through it. And a couple years after that, my sister had invited me on a girls' weekend, said I deserved it. I needed a break. And so I organized it, and that was the first time I ever tried cocaine. And I loved it. It was great because I was already working 18-hour days. I was like, perfect. Some people drink coffee. I liked cocaine, And so I ended up becoming very, very addicted to it for the next 2 years. And as a single mom, there's not a whole lot of resources available. I didn't actually know anything about addiction. I didn't know anything about alcoholism, nothing. But I knew that I was miserable, and I was spending so much money, and I was really ashamed of the kind of mother that I was. And so I had bought a car at the beginning of 2016, and the guy that sold it to me, his name is Brady Mann, and he owns Fourth Dimension Wraps. They're in recovery, and they wrap cars. He posted on his Facebook page, and he said, I'm celebrating 9 months of sobriety today. And I called him. I said, how did you do that? He goes, well, I go to meetings. And I was like, what meetings? He's like, well, it's a spot in between Rusty Bucket and Greenfields. I was like, dude, I know where the bars are. Trust me. Where is the meeting and what is it? I knew nothing about Alcoholics Anonymous. So I went, that my last day was February 27th of 2016, and I was mortified. About my behavior. I had tried. I'd not drank or used cocaine for 7 days. I was so proud of myself. I just finished a gig, and the bartender slides me a shot of Fireball. She's like, 1 for the road. I'm like, sweet. And I took it, and I was like, oh, no. And I had tried to stop so many times, and I couldn't. And so I thought, well, maybe whatever meeting is between Greenfields and Rusty Bucket will work. And I walked in, and I felt like I belonged there. There was this, familiar spirit there, and I was like, huh. And they gave me a to-do list. Like I said, I like checklists. I like knocking things out. I'm the person who likes to cross things off, so I feel better about myself. And I did the 12 steps, and I never left. So my story is a little different, where I never went to detox or treatment or sober living. And I had to surround myself with people in recovery in order to do this thing. And it's been over 7 years now.
Yes. Congratulations. Forgiving yourself.
Yeah.
Can you talk about it?
Yeah, because why do we drink? Why do we use, to numb all of that? And my first 90 days of sobriety, I cried every day. And every day I felt like such a wuss because I'm a tough lady, so crying every day is not a good look. And you got things to do. The hardest thing that I've had to forgive myself for was choosing the fathers of my children. So I have 3 children. They're 12, 13, and 15, and 2 dads. One is still in my oldest son's life, and the other one went to prison and never came back, and my husband adopted them. But all these years later, there's behaviors and there's things that happen. I have held my children while they cried, wondering where their birth dad is. Why did my dad pick drugs over me, my oldest son, lying on the floor? And you sit there and you're in recovery and you know the right thing to do is, to be present and to be there for them. But that overwhelming guilt of, I picked your dads. I did this. The old version of me, I did this. And we still struggle. I feel like Michael and I are raising Judas's son. And my 12-year-old son, his name is Gideon, and I love him so much, and he checks all the boxes to become one of us, I think, a lot of days, and it scares me. And so what I try to do is, in forgiving myself, I try to love him the way that his birth dad's father should have loved him, the way that he should have been there for him and supported him and taught him skills and things. But that's something that I've dealt with consistently. It's forgiving myself for the harm that I've caused my children.
Could you tell them about the tattoo on your arm?
Oh, yeah. I thought that was the third question. Is that not?
You know what? I might be jumping ahead.
No, you're probably right. All right. So that's the thing that's hard for me to forgive myself. And then how do I got this tattoo on my 1-year sober date.
Will you tell them what you said first, though?
What?
When I asked her this question. No. You're, I have to bring it up because it just.
I nailed it last service. So
you're nailing it this service. When I asked her a question, so what do you do when these voices keep playing in your head, when the old tape plays?
Yeah.
She said, well, I go to.
Rap music.
Yeah, but you said a specific song, gangster rap, and then you continued to sing it.
I did. That was at the very end, though. That was your last question.
Okay, I'm screwing the whole thing up. Let's go to your tattoo.
Okay, that's okay. So that's the hardest thing that's been. And so one of the things is how? How do I forgive myself, I think? So on my 1-year anniversary of being sober, I went and got a tattoo. I only got half the verse, though, because that shit hurts. Mm-hmm. And it's also a really great conversation starter. What is that? So it's Galatians 5:1. And it says, it is for freedom that Christ has set us free. The second part of that is, therefore, do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery. So back in the day, a yoke was like those wooden handcuffs, if you will. You put your head through and then your hands through. You're carrying this yoke, right? And that yoke of slavery for me was guilt, and it was shame, and it was fear. I heard what you said about your daughter. You got all of that too. I felt that when you said that, to celebrate her. Whenever I'm tempted, I had to get it on my arm so that I could remind myself on a regular basis. And then last year, I got another one. It says, my grace is sufficient for you. Again, too much of a coward to get the whole thing. So the next part is, for my power is made perfect in your weakness. And so I have these here as my reminders to not stay stuck on that hamster wheel of shoulda, coulda, woulda. Why did I? But go, no. I get to be free today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael said something to you very powerful.
He did. Yeah, because you had asked me, how do I continue to not get stuck? And my husband, there was a point where I had to hold my son's father accountable for the exact same thing I was doing for cocaine addiction. And it was very awkward. I felt like a hypocrite. I felt guilty. And my husband said, but that's not who you are today. I thought, oh, well, shit, it isn't who I am today. Making good choices. It was still hard, but what's cool is it allowed me to have compassion.
Yeah.
Because I knew what he was going through.
What happened today?
Oh, man. When I sat down with Ryan on Tuesday to go some of these, he asked me, what makes you feel free? And that particular day, I wasn't feeling very free. I was feeling a little stressed out from my job and from my kids and, all of these things. And I called my husband on the way home, and I was like, I think I did not nail that question, and I got to think about that some more because I didn't feel free. And then I remembered the first 90 days of sobriety and then waking up and being like, holy shit, I didn't think about Coke or alcohol today. I didn't think about all the things that I didn't think about and how much freedom I have. And I thought maybe I'll share about that, early in recovery, because now I'm 7 years away from that. I have all these God's blessings that feel really heavy some days. And they don't make me always feel so free, but I can't forget where I came from. Oh, Darren, he's like, this shit is hard, right? Would you put that picture up for me? At 2 o'clock this afternoon, my 10th grade son scored his first touchdown of the season, running 55 yards. Yeah. The boy is built like an oak tree, so he hits very hard. So he's been pigeonholed into playing defense most of his life, and he's been working really hard to play offense. And so he scored a touchdown. The game was in Fort Collins, so I couldn't be there and be here on time tonight, so I didn't get to go. But at 2 o'clock today, his stepmom text messaged me a video of him scoring. And at the very end of the video, I screenshotted this picture. My son is in the end zone, jumping 3 feet in the air. And that is the man that I had to forgive. It took me 10 years to forgive him. That's his dad holding up his number 1 with Curtis on the back. And let me tell you, before forgiving him, I would have looked at that picture and felt rage, animosity, anger, frustration, jealousy, all of those things. So when that came through today, I felt 100% joy. I felt excited because my son has the opportunity to have his dad, who loves him so much, and is cheering from him on those sidelines. And I got to be a part of that forgiveness story between the two of them. But I had to learn how to forgive my son's dad first, and then show my son how to do it, because he didn't want to at first. And I had to help him. And that's really important, because we all have this desire to be loved by our Father, our Heavenly Father and our earthly Father. And I could have sabotaged that. That was my part. Even though I could say he caused more harm than I did, I played a part, and I had to work my 4-step. That's the other thing I said last service. I had to work my 4-step and do my inventory and see my part in that. Then I got to tell somebody in a 5th step, right? Tell somebody else. And then I get to work that. I get to walk a 4-step all the time with that man. And my recovery has saved this family, and my son gets to be that. The other thing about forgiving myself, do you know that if you were the last person on the earth, Jesus would still die for you? If you were the last person. So if I don't forgive myself, I'm telling Jesus that what he did was not enough. Putting him back up on that cross. Thanks for dying, Jesus, but, it wasn't enough for me. It's like an insult, So if God can forgive me, and he showed me, and he did that for me, then I can forgive myself and in turn bring healing to my whole family. And that's what recovery does.
Yeah. So I want to close with one more question.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Is this on the notes?
Maybe. Sometimes I get lost just like other people, okay?
Totally.
For someone who's here tonight, or they're watching online, or they're going to watch the replay of this throughout the week, many do, and they're struggling to let go of that thing that they did, and they cannot forgive themselves, what's the hope you give?
First thing is rap music. You got to find some gangster rap to listen to. You know that song? I don't fuck with you. You little stupid ass bitch, I ain't fucking with you. You know that one? That one gets played very loud in my car.
We do now.
That one. And we are going to close service with it. I couldn't believe Noel did that.
Thank you, tech team.
But you gotta play that, because Because that's the thoughts, that's the demons, that's the that your past, that's the person texting you that still hates you for what you did. You play that rap song, man, and it drowns out all of that. And you sing it loud and proud. It's number one.
See, for me, it was Eminem cleaning out my closet.
See?
Ooh, that
Everybo's
one.
got their
Get that
gangster
anger
rap.
out. Mm-hmm.
Gotta love, yeah. If you hate gangster raps, learn to love it. So, second is the community. So you find people that can empower you. So the first 90 days, you don't have a brain. You don't know. You have no idea what the fuck you're doing right now. No idea. So you're gonna look to that guy right there. He'll tell you. Right? So you look for other people to go, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? What do I do next? What is the next right thing? Because I have no idea. I know I want to burn down somebody's house right now, and that does not sound right.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a new idea. Right? Yeah, you know. So surround yourself with people, and don't be afraid to ask for encouragement. Don't be afraid to ask for a compliment. I feel like a failure as a mom today. Tell me I don't suck at life. Tell me I'm doing okay. And you surround yourself with a fan base that drowns out all the bullshit in your head. They become so loud that all that negativity, and you do whatever you can to get another 24. This community will hold you together. They held me together and my three kids. We were not too much to handle. Even the person making coffee at AA meetings would watch my children. They had 30 days of sobriety, and I'd stick them with a 5, 6, and 8-year-old and say, I got to go get some recovery. Good luck. Yeah. Anti-coffee maker. Hey. Yeah. So that is my hope. Get in where you fit in and stick there. Don't be afraid to ask for help and ask for empowerment.
Whew, thank you, Sarah. Are you going to stick around for a little bit if people want to connect with you? I want to say one other thing to you. Yeah. Look at that.
Thanks, guys.
I want to say thank you to you. I know you have texted Tammy or whatever, however you guys communicate. It's meant a great deal to her, and to have women that encourage women, so huge. So thank you for that. And Michael, man, he sent me a text, a Facebook message a couple months back, and it's one that I tell people, but it meant so much to me, man. This dude checked in on me. And I'm like, he doesn't even know me that well, and he's checking in on me. It meant so much to me. Thank you for encouraging people and walking what you say you believe, being that walk. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. As you grow in recovery, you start out with 30 days, and then you become a Darren, or a Tammy, or a Ryan. You become leaders, and it gets lonely. It gets really lonely. And so as you're growing, you reach out to people who are doing the same things and leading others and taking on the burdens of other people. Yeah. And so we believe that it's very important to empower other leaders in this community, because we need each other. So thank you.
Thanks for living it. Sarah Hornbuckle, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Sarah. So good. I'll take that from you. Oh, yeah. You want to bring it down now? All right. What a fun evening with y'all, but we're not done yet. You do know in this community, people say, well, what time's the service over? I say anywhere between 8 and midnight. No, that's not true. 8 and 8:15. So we will be done by 8:15. But we have to close. Very important part of our time together is bringing the heartaches together, because what we know here is every week we try to carry burdens, and sometimes we try to carry those burdens alone, and you don't have to. It's why we have community, what Sarah was just talking about. It's why we have a God who hears the cries of the people. So we take 3 minutes. If you're online, drop your heartache in the YouTube comment section, the Facebook comment section. We'll heartache with you there. Scott and Simone have a mic. Oh, they're turning it on in the back for you. Simone, I've never called you Simone. I am die hard on saying your name correctly. And if I said it, I need forgiveness. Simone and Scott have a mic. Raise up your hand. And we will take 3 minutes. I'm sorry, Simone. My bad. You know I don't do that.
I've been called Australian, South African, and now Simone.
Oh, my goodness. Let's take 3 minutes for y'all. It's your time.
My name is Kayla, and I want to lift up and pray for my sister as she's struggling with some mental health issues. And if we could just keep her in our prayers and thoughts.
Prayers for her. Thank you for sharing that with us, Kayla. Glad you're here. Saman, second row.
I'm Dara. Sorry about my voice, but I would like to lift up all the other people that were in the unit with me who maybe weren't as lucky as I was to walk away and maybe don't have as many prayer warriors and people praying for them. So if you guys could send the same love to the people still there that you did to me, that would be great.
All the prayers and vibes and energy being sent to them. Thank you for that, Dara.
I'm Kavita. A friend, Casey, her mom fell and broke her hip, and in the process of getting that diagnosed, found out she had breast cancer. So, prayers for Casey's mom.
Lifting up Casey and her mom and everyone affected. Thank you, Kavita.
Hi, I'm Katie. We have in my family a lifelong friend, kind of like a little sister. She had a brain aneurysm and is now in a coma. I'm not sure how it's going to go, but she's been in the coma for about a week now, so we're just praying that she'll be able to have a recovery. It'll be a long one, but she'll get through it.
Yeah. Prayers for her.
I'd like to lift up everyone I hurt in my addiction.
Where'd that come from? I didn't even see you. Oh, in the back there. Yeah. Lifting them up. Prayers for them and you.
Prayers for my sister that lost her baby a year ago this coming week.
All right. Prayers for her.
Prayers for Jimmy Johnson and his wife Chandra, who just suffered a very tragic loss. So if we could lift them up in the racing community as well.
Lifting them up. Thank you for sharing that with us. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Charles. On the 26th of this month will be 19 years since I've been adopted. And there's a lot of abuse that went along with it. It's going to be a rough day. I would appreciate your guys' prayers.
Yeah, thanks for that, Charles. I'm glad you're here, man. Thanks for sharing that with us. Praying for you.
I've got 3 gals in my house that have relapsed recently, and I just hope that they're all okay, that they come back to us. Lift them up, please. I'm really praying that they can figure out how to get this right this time. They're
Yeah.
amazing humans.
Lifting up your whole house. Thank you, Sarah. One more.
Hi, I'm Mary, everyone, and in my addiction, I destroyed my teeth, and I was ashamed of my appearance. And through grace and mercy and staying in recovery, I got new teeth this week.
All right. That's a celebration.
And my prayer is for everyone who's ashamed of their appearance. Don't be, because we're more than that.
There
and
you
that
go.
there are gifts that come in recovery.
That's right. Preach it.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Mary. All right. The one and only Kristen England is going to join me up here. Kristen has been with this community for a very long time. Hold on. Bobby's saying something. Okay. Kristen's been with this community for a very long time, in our old space even, and then she did a thing and moved off to Costa Rica, but she's here now, and
I'm home tonight.
You're home, and we're so glad you're here. And you're going to join me for Heartaches. Do we have Heartaches on the screen, Bobby? We can't join with the online people? Okay, so what we're going to do, Kristen. Oh, there's 2. I'm going to read them from Tammy's phone. Greg, you want to read that one?
I do.
You take the first one.
Greg, prayers for my sister losing this fight with alcohol. ATM.
All right, Greg. Prayers for you and your sister, man. Miranda De La Rosa says, prayers to all those struggling in recovery. Yeah, Miranda, we're lifting them up. We try to lift them up each and every week. And I'm sorry, y'all, if there's more. I know Facebook can be a bit finicky. Finicky, is that the right word?
Sure.
With showing comments. So if there's more, we'll get with y'all this week online. And Kristen, thank you for joining me up here on the stage. It's always good to have you up here. All right, y'all. I remind you each and every week that if you are a part of this community, if you call this your home, if this is your people, your tribe, your I don't whatever you call them, your people. Um, we are sustained by your generous giving. It's how we keep breaking the silence of addiction in this community and across the country. Without your giving, we don't exist. So I tell you that to remind you that generosity is really important in this community, and we're so grateful for it. Some of you have made this a spiritual practice in your life. You like pray about this stuff. I think that's important. Some of you have made it a sacrificial practice in your life, and we're really grateful for that. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And you also know, for the last couple of months, we've been in the midst of this campaign called Welcome Home, Home at Last campaign. Because we are purchasing this building. This will be our permanent home. Some of you know how that is a big deal in this community because we know what it's like to almost be homeless and have nowhere to go. This is going to be our permanent home. We're trying to raise $1.3 million to purchase this. We are, and I know I've said it for the last couple of weeks, we will have a further update next week or the week after. We're somewhere right around 850,000. We're still waiting on some grants, but maybe you've been hanging around and you're saying, well, I'm going to give, but I'm just going to wait to the end. Well, we're coming to the end. So we have about 5 weeks left. Now's a good time to pitch in if you've been considering that. There are 2 giving boxes here in this community, one beside these doors that cleverly say giving, and then there's one just outside these doors. And if you want to give online, there's a few different options. You can also scan that thing that was up there, but you can download the app. It's free to download, free spiritual community, free to download, has all the content on it. You can give one time, monthly, weekly, however you want to do it. Same way on the website, freespiritualcommunity.com. You can give there. If you want to give to the campaign directly, be sure you click on the Home at Last once you click giving, or text message the number on your screen. It walks you through a simple set of instructions. Your generous giving helps grow the mission here at Free, which is what? Breaking the silence of addiction, creating space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. Thank you all. Big thank you. Yeah. By the way, I think over 200 people have given to this Home at Last campaign. So that's really cool. Thank you guys for that. All right. Shall we go out with a prayer? Yeah. Amen. That's a good answer to that. Yes is also fine. Yes, we shall go out with a prayer. You can invite you if you'd like to open your hands. It's just a sign of openness. Being open to Spirit moving in your midst, breathing in you and through you and all around you, making new life possible. And if you don't know the Lord's Prayer, we'll go out with the Lord's Prayer together. If you don't know it, it's on the screen. And it goes like this. Our Father, who art for... Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. And my free brothers and sisters, you are forgiven. Go in peace, and we'll see you next time.